Keanu Reeves pulled his motorcycle into the garage at 11:17 p.m., killed the engine, and sat for a moment in the sudden silence. 14 hours. That's how long he'd been on set today. Stunt choreography for the new film, running the same sequence over and over until his body moved through it like water, until every punch, every fall, every roll was muscle memory. He was 59 years old. In excellent shape, yes. He trained religiously, ate well, took care of himself. But days like this reminded him he wasn't 25 anymore. His shoulders ached. His knees were stiff. Every part of him wanted a hot shower, some food, maybe an hour with a book before sleep claimed him. He dismounted, pulled off his helmet, ran a hand through his hair. The garage was quiet except for the tick of cooling metal. His other motorcycle sat beside this one, his car beyond that. Simple vehicles. He'd never been one for flash. The house itself was the same. Modest by Hollywood standards. 3 bedrooms, lots of books, minimal decoration. Big windows looking out onto a small garden he'd planted with native California species. Sage, manzanita, California poppies. Low water, low maintenance, good for the local ecosystem. It was his sanctuary, the one place he could be completely private, completely himself. No cameras, no expectations, just quiet. He walked through the garage door into the house, dropped his keys on the kitchen counter, moved by habit to the sink for water, drank it standing at the window, looking out at the garden illuminated by moonlight. October in Los Angeles. The nights were getting cooler. The air, that slight crispness that passed for autumn here. He was about to turn away when he saw it. Movement in the bushes near the back fence. His first thought was wildlife. Coyotes sometimes came down from the hills, especially during dry years when food was scarce. Raccoons were common. Possums. But this movement was different. Too deliberate. Too careful. Too human. Keanu set down his glass. Watched. The movement came again. Definitely a person, crouched low in the oleander bushes that lined the back fence. He could make out a shape now. Someone sitting, holding something. The moonlight caught a reflection. Glass. A camera lens. Paparazzi. In his private garden. Behind the fence that was supposed to provide security. On his property. Most people in this situation would call the police immediately. Or private security. Trespassing was a serious crime in California. Add in the element of stalking a celebrity, photographing someone on their private property, and the charges would be significant. He could destroy this person legally. Many celebrities had. Some made examples of paparazzi, pursued maximum charges, sent a message. But Keanu's first instinct wasn't anger. It was curiosity. Who was this person? Why were they here? What drove someone to hide in bushes in a stranger's garden late at night? He turned off the kitchen light, stood in darkness, eyes adjusting, watched the figure for another minute. They were focused on the house, on the upstairs windows, probably expecting Keanu to appear there, going through his evening routine, visible from outside. They had no idea he was already watching them. Keanu moved quietly to the back door, unlocked it slowly, no sound, stepped outside into the cool October night. He learned to move silently over years of stunt training, years of fight choreography, where every step had to be precise, controlled. He used that now. He circled left, using the shadow of the house, approached the bushes from behind. The person was still focused forward, camera raised, waiting for a shot. Keanu got close enough to see details. Young guy, maybe 25. Thin. Worn jeans, dark jacket. The camera was decent, but not professional grade. A good consumer model with a telephoto lens. Serious equipment, but not the high-end gear career paparazzi used. A backpack sat at his feet. The guy was shivering slightly. The temperature had dropped to the mid-50s. Not cold by most standards, but chilly when you'd been sitting motionless for hours. Keanu stood 5 feet behind him. Could have scared him. Could have yelled. Could have grabbed him and held him for police. Instead, he spoke quietly, almost gently. Hey, how long have you been sitting out here? The guy jumped like he'd been electrocuted, nearly dropped the camera, spun around, eyes wide with panic. Saw Keanu standing there in jeans and a t-shirt, hands in his pockets. Not threatening, not aggressive, just there. I'm sorry, I was just... He tried to stand, tangled in his backpack strap, almost fell. Keanu reached out, steadied him. Careful. These bushes have thorns. You okay? The paparazzo stared at him like he was speaking a foreign language. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. Celebrities were supposed to yell, threaten lawsuits, call security, not ask if you were okay. Yeah, I am okay. Good. Listen, I was about to make some coffee. You look cold. Want to come inside? Silence. Complete silence. The guy looked at Keanu like he'd just offered him a ride on a spaceship. What? Coffee. Hot drink. I got good beans. You've probably been out here a few hours, judging by how stiff you look. Come inside, warm up, we'll talk. Is this a trap? Are you calling the police? No trap. No police. Just a conversation. But only if you want. If you'd rather stay in the bushes, that's your choice too. The guy looked at the house. At Keanu. At his camera. Processing. Trying to figure out the angle, the trick. There had to be a trick. I don't understand. I'm offering you coffee and a conversation. That's it. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Yes. Great. Come on. Keanu led him across the garden to the back door. The guy followed cautiously, like he expected the ground to open up beneath him. They walked through the door into Keanu's kitchen. Warm light, clean counters, books stacked on the table, art on the walls. The guy stood in the middle of the kitchen, looking completely out of place, still holding his camera, backpack hanging from one shoulder. You can set that stuff down. It's safe here. The guy put his camera and backpack on a chair. Looked around. This was Keanu Reeves' house. He was inside Keanu Reeves' house. The same house he'd been trying to photograph from the bushes. Keanu moved to his espresso machine. A nice Italian model. He'd gotten serious about coffee a few years ago, learned the craft of it. Found it meditative. How do you take it? Milk? Sugar? A milk. Please. You got it. Keanu worked the machine with practiced ease. Ground fresh beans. Tamped them precisely. Pulled a shot. Steamed milk. Made a perfect latte. Handed it to the guy. Made himself a straight espresso. They stood on opposite sides of the kitchen island. The guy held his mug like it might explode. So Keanu said, "What's your name?" "Danny. Danny Reyes." "Nice to meet you, Danny." "I'm Keanu, but you probably already knew that." A slight smile from Danny. First sign of relaxation. "Yeah, I knew. How long have you been doing this?" "Photographing celebrities?" "About 6 months. And before that I was trying to be a real journalist." The word real hung in the air. Acknowledgement that what he was doing now wasn't real. Wasn't journalism. Was something else. Something he wasn't proud of. Keanu sipped his espresso. Didn't push. Just waited. Let the silence do the work. People filled silence. Especially when they were nervous. Danny filled it. "I graduated from Cal State Northridge. Journalism degree. I wanted to do investigative reporting. Real stories. Things that mattered. But there are no jobs. Not in journalism. Not anymore. I sent out resumes to 27 different publications. Got 2 interviews. 0 offers." His voice carried frustration. The particular frustration of someone who'd done everything right and found the system broken anyway. "So you ended up doing this." "So I ended up doing this. Must pay better than bartending." "It does. If you get the right shot." Celebrity in a compromising situation. Exclusive photo. Tabloids pay thousands. Sometimes tens of thousands. For one picture. Is that what you were hoping for tonight? A compromising photo. Danny looked down at his coffee. Shame crossed his face. "I don't know what I was hoping for. Maybe just you coming home. You with someone. Anything I could sell." "I'm sorry. I know how that sounds. It sounds honest. Why me specifically? Why my garden tonight? You're accessible. I'm sorry, that sounds awful. But you don't have the security most celebrities have. No high walls. No guards. No cameras everywhere. And you're famous. Your photos sell. I thought if I could get something exclusive, something private, I could make enough money to cover what I need." "And what do you need?" Danny met his eyes. "My brother. I need to help my brother." "Tell me about your brother." And Danny did. The story came out slowly at first, then faster. About Miguel. 18 years old. Full scholarship to USC. Engineering. Brilliant kid. First in their family to go to college. But the scholarship only covered tuition. Not room and board, not books, not living expenses. Their parents couldn't help. Father was a construction worker. Work was inconsistent. Mother cleaned houses. They did what they could, but had nothing extra. Miguel needed about $20,000 a year for expenses. Danny was trying to make up the difference. Miguel couldn't work full-time. His course load was too intense. Danny had tried everything. Retail, bartending. Nothing paid enough. Not in Los Angeles. Not with his own rent, his own student loans, his own life. Then someone told him about paparazzi work. About how much it could pay. How one good photo could solve months of problems. And Danny had been desperate enough to try. I know it's wrong, Danny said. I know I'm invading people's privacy. That you're a person, not just a commodity. But I didn't know what else to do. I tried everything. And Miguel deserves this chance. He's too smart, too talented to miss college because of money. Keanu listened without judgment. Let Danny finish. Let him get it all out. When Danny stopped talking, Keanu was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he spoke. I understand why you did it. And I respect that you're trying to help your brother. Family matters. Sacrifice for family is noble. Danny looked surprised, relieved, like he'd been expecting condemnation and got understanding instead. But there was the but. But what you're doing causes harm. Not just to me, though yes, this is a violation of my privacy. But the industry you've entered, it's toxic. It turns people into products. It feeds a culture where celebrities are hunted, photographed without consent, have every private moment turned into content for consumption. I know. Let me finish. You know it's wrong. I can see that. But you're doing it anyway because you're desperate. Because the system is broken. Journalism doesn't pay. College is impossibly expensive. You're trying to help your brother the only way you can see. Keanu leaned forward slightly. But Danny, there's always a choice. Maybe not good choices. Maybe not easy ones. But choices. I don't see any other choice. Then let me offer you one. I'll give you an exclusive interview. Right now. On camera if you want. You can ask me anything. About my life, my career, personal things, whatever's reasonable. I'll be honest. You can sell the interview to tabloids. Exclusive content from Keanu Reeves, one-on-one in his home. That should be worth good money. Danny's eyes went wide. Are you serious? Completely serious. But there are conditions. Of course. Anything. First, after this, you never do paparazzi work again. Ever. You get out of this business. Second, you use the money exclusively for Miguel. His education, his expenses. Nothing for yourself except basic needs. Third, you go back to journalism. Real journalism. I'll help. I have contacts. I can't guarantee a job, but I can open doors. Danny stared at him. Why? Why would you do this? Because you're not a bad person doing bad things. You're a desperate person making questionable choices. There's a difference. And because I believe in second chances. I always have. Danny's hands were shaking. He set down his coffee cup before he dropped it. I don't know what to say. Say yes or no. That's all you need to say. Yes. God, yes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Let's do the interview first. Then we'll see if you still think this is a good deal. Danny pulled his camera from the bag, set it up on the small tripod he'd brought, positioned it on the kitchen island, pointing at where Keanu sat. His hands were still shaking slightly. The magnitude of this moment settling on him. This was insane. This was impossible. An hour ago, he'd been hiding in bushes hoping to steal a photo. Now he was about to conduct an authorized interview with Keanu Reeves in Keanu Reeves' kitchen. His life made no sense. Ready when you are, Keanu said. Danny hit record. The red light came on. This was happening. This was real. Mr. Reeves, thank you for agreeing to this interview. I know the circumstances are unusual. Keanu is fine. And yes, the circumstances are definitely unusual. But sometimes the best conversations happen in unexpected moments. Okay, Keanu. First question. How do you handle the constant attention? Paparazzi, fans, everyone always watching. Is it hard? Keanu considered the question. Gave it real thought. It's part of the job I accepted when I chose this career. I'm fortunate to have a platform. To make art, to earn a good living. The trade-off is privacy gets eroded. Most of the time I manage it fine. But sometimes, yes, it's hard. Especially when it feels invasive. When it feels disrespectful. Like tonight, when you found me in your garden. Like tonight. Danny swallowed. Kept going. You're known for your kindness. Stories about you are everywhere. Giving up your subway seat. Generous tips. Quiet charity. Is that real? Or is it image management? Keanu smiled slightly. It always amuses me, that idea. That kindness has to be image management. Has to be strategy. Can't it just be how someone chooses to move through the world? So if it's real, I try to be decent. Don't always succeed. Sometimes I'm irritated, tired, less generous than I should be. But I try, because we get one life. We can leave things better or worse. That's a choice. The interview continued. 40 minutes. 50. An hour. Danny asked good questions. Showed his journalism training. Not superficial tabloid stuff, but real curiosity. About Keanu's process as an actor. How he chose roles. About loss. The girlfriend in the car accident. Their unborn daughter. His best friend, River Phoenix. How grief shaped him. Keanu was honest. More honest than he'd been in most public interviews. Something about this situation, the absurdity of sitting in his kitchen at midnight with a paparazzo he'd just found in his bushes. It was freeing. What do you have to lose? The guy had already been trespassing. Might as well make it meaningful. Can I ask you about your brother? Keanu said. Miguel. Tell me about him. Danny's face changed. Softened. Miguel is everything I'm not. Focused. Brilliant. Driven. He wants to work in renewable energy. Solar technology, batteries, things that could help with climate change. He has big dreams. And he's smart enough to actually achieve them. You're proud of him. So proud. He's better than me in every way. I doubt that. You're here trying to help him. That takes something. It takes desperation. It takes love. They talked for another 20 minutes. About family. About sacrifice. About the impossible choices people made when systems failed them. About how education should be accessible but wasn't. About how journalism was dying and what that meant for democracy. Real conversations. Substantive ones. Finally, around 1 a.m., Keanu said, I think that's probably enough. You got good content there. Should sell well. Danny turned off the camera. Looked at Keanu with an expression that was part gratitude, part disbelief. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me. Just keep your end of the deal. Get out of paparazzi work. Help Miguel. Go back to real journalism. I will. I swear. Keanu pulled out his phone. Typed for a minute. I'm sending you some contacts. An editor at the LA Times. Friend of mine. Ousme a favor. A documentary producer who's looking for junior staff. These people can't guarantee you a job, but they'll give you a fair hearing. The rest is up to you. That's more than anyone's ever done for me. Then pay it forward. When you're in a position to help someone else, do it. That's how the world works, if we choose to make it work that way. Danny gathered his equipment. At the door, he hesitated. Keanu, why didn't you call the police? You would have been justified. I broke the law, because sending you to jail wouldn't have solved anything. Wouldn't have helped Miguel. Wouldn't have made you a better person. Would have just added more pain to the world. There's enough of that already. Danny nodded. Didn't trust himself to speak. Just extended his hand. Keanu shook it. Good luck, Danny. I mean that. Thank you. For everything. For seeing me. After Danny left, Keanu stood in his kitchen for a long moment. It was almost 1:30 in the morning. He was exhausted. The day had been long before this strange encounter. But he felt good. Felt like he'd done something right. Used his position, his resources, his platform for something that mattered. Not punishment. Not revenge. But restoration. Help. A chance for someone to change direction. He finally made his way upstairs. Showered. The hot water felt good on his sore muscles. He thought about Danny. About Miguel. About the broken systems that forced people into impossible choices. Education that cost too much. Journalism jobs that paid too little. The desperation that made good people do questionable things. He couldn't fix the systems. Not alone. But he could help one person. And maybe that person would help another. And another. Ripples spreading outward. He fell asleep thinking about second chances. About the ones he'd been given. About the ones he tried to give others. About the belief, maybe naive but held anyway, that people were fundamentally good. That circumstances made them do bad things. And that changing circumstances could change outcomes. Tomorrow the story would probably leak. Someone would find out. The media would have a field day. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight he'd done what felt right. That was enough. Keanu woke at 7 a.m. to his phone buzzing insistently on the nightstand. He'd only slept 5.5 hours, but felt surprisingly clear-headed. The encounter with Danny had left him feeling energized despite the late night. Something about doing the right thing, even in a strange situation, recharged the soul in ways sleep couldn't quite match. He grabbed the phone. 3 missed calls from his publicist, Amanda Chun. 2 texts. The second one read, "Call me when you're up." Not urgent, but interesting. He called her back while making coffee. Amanda answered on the first ring. "Tell me you didn't actually invite a paparazzo into your house last night." Keanu smiled. News traveled fast. "I did. His name is Danny Reyes. Nice kid. He was in my bushes. He was in your bushes. And your response was to make him coffee. Good coffee, too. I did a nice pour-over." Keanu. Amanda's voice had that particular tone, the one that meant she was exasperated and amused in equal measure. "Do you know this is going to be everywhere? I'm already getting calls. How would anyone find out? It happened at midnight." Danny apparently told a friend. Friend told someone else. You know how it works. By this morning, there are rumors circulating. Paparazzo caught trespassing at Keanu Reeves' house, invited inside, give an interview. People are asking if it's true. It's true. He needed help. His younger brother is at USC on scholarship. Can't afford living expenses. Danny was desperate. Made bad choices trying to help family. I gave him an interview he can sell. In exchange, he gets out of the paparazzi business and goes back to journalism. Silence on the other end. Then Amanda laughed. Actually laughed. Of course. Of course that's what happened. Anyone else would have called police, pressed charges, made an example. You gave him coffee and career counseling. What would pressing charges accomplish? Kid gets a criminal record. Still can't help his brother. Still desperate. Nothing changes except now he's more desperate and has fewer options. I know. That's why you're you. But Keanu, this is going to blow up. Especially when he sells the interview. What did you talk about? Life. Career. Grief. Loss. Kindness. How people make choices when systems fail them. Pretty substantive, actually. So nothing scandalous. Nothing scandalous. Unless talking about the cost of education and the death of journalism is scandalous. In this climate? Might be. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. We stay quiet. No official statement unless absolutely necessary. Let the story develop naturally. When the interview drops, and it will drop, we don't add fuel. Just let it be what it is. A weird, kind moment. Very on-brand for you. Sounds good. Thanks, Amanda. Thank you for not making my job impossible. Just weird. Weird I can work with. After they hung up, Keanu carried his coffee to the back porch. Looked at the garden. The bushes where Danny had been hiding. The trampled grass, broken branches. Physical evidence of the intrusion. He should probably be more bothered by it. Someone had violated his privacy, trespassed on his property, aimed a camera at his home. But all he could think about was the look on Danny's face. The shame, the desperation, the gratitude when offered help instead of punishment. That look was worth the violation, worth the disruption, worth whatever media circus was about to happen. His phone buzzed again. Text from an unknown number. "Mr. Reeves, this is Danny. I got home safe. Still can't believe last night happened. Thank you again. I'll reach out to your contacts today." Keanu typed back. "Good. Keep me posted on how it goes." He spent the morning doing normal things. Worked out, weights and cardio. Read for an hour, a biography of a jazz musician he'd been meaning to get to. Answered emails. Around noon his phone rang again. David Chun, his lawyer and old friend. "I heard an interesting rumor. Let me guess. Paparazzi in my garden." "That's the one. Amanda called me. Said you handled it in the most Keanu way possible. I gave him an interview and some contacts. That's it. That's everything. Keanu, you know I support you. Always have. But I need to ask from a legal perspective. Did you document any of this? Get anything in writing? Like what? Like his agreement to stop doing paparazzi work. His promise to use the money for his brother. If this goes sideways, if he sells the interview and then goes right back to trespassing on celebrity property, you could be seen as enabling criminal behavior. He won't. You don't know that. I know enough. I saw him, David. Really saw him. He's not a bad person. He's a desperate person. There's a difference. There is. But desperate people sometimes make the same bad choices again when the desperation returns. Then I'll deal with it then. But I don't think I'll have to. David sighed. Okay, your call. Just be prepared for backlash. Some people are going to say you're too soft, that you should have prosecuted, that you're setting a bad precedent. Let them say it. I made the choice I can live with. Fair enough. Want to have dinner this week? Catch up properly? Yeah. Thursday work. Thursday's good. I'll text you. The day continued quietly. Keanu had no scheduled commitments. Just a rare day off. He spent it reading, working on a motorcycle that needed maintenance, existing without pressure. Around 5 p.m. his phone lit up with a notification. TMZ had posted something. The headline, exclusive, Keanu Reeves catches paparazzo trespassing, responds with shocking kindness. So it was out. Officially out. He clicked through. The article was surprisingly accurate. Detailed the basic facts. Danny Reyes, 25, struggling journalist turned paparazzi, caught on Keanu's property. Instead of calling police, Keanu invited him in, gave him coffee and an interview. In exchange, Danny agreed to leave the paparazzi business and return to legitimate journalism. The interview was being shopped to outlets. Bidding was competitive. The comments section was predictably divided. Half the people praising Keanu. This is the most Keanu thing ever. We don't deserve this man. Imagine being that paparazzo, going from trespassing to having coffee with Keanu Reeves. The other half were critical. He should have called the cops. This just encourages more trespassing. Celebrities need to protect their privacy, not reward people who violate it. Keanu read a few comments, then closed the app. Other people's opinions about his choices had never much mattered to him. He knew why he'd done what he'd done. That was enough. His phone rang. His sister Kim. I just saw the news. Did you really find a paparazzo in your bushes and make him coffee? I did. Why am I not surprised? You're the only person I know who would respond to trespassing with hospitality. It felt like the right thing. It was the right thing. That's what makes it you. How are you doing? Really? I'm good. Tired from a shoot yesterday, but good. And this thing with the paparazzo, it doesn't bother you? That someone was on your property? It bothers me that the world is set up so that a smart kid with a journalism degree ends up hiding in bushes because he can't afford to help his brother with college. That's what bothers me. The specific trespass is just a symptom. You always see the bigger picture. Sometimes I wish you'd just be mad about the immediate thing. I'm allowed to be mad and compassionate at the same time. I suppose. Listen, Sam wants to see you. Can you come for dinner Sunday? Sam was her son, Keanu's nephew. 16, good kid. They tried to have dinner together at least once a month. Sunday works. What time? 6. I'll make that pasta you like. Perfect. See you then. After hanging up, Keanu realized he was smiling. Family. That's what Danny had been trying to protect. His brother. The same instinct that made Keanu prioritize time with Kim and Sam. Taking care of the people you loved. It was universal. The most human thing. Evening came. Keanu made dinner. Simple stir-fry with vegetables from the farmer's market. Ate while reading. Around 9 p.m. his phone buzzed with another text from Danny. I reached out to the contacts you gave me. The LA Times editor responded. Wants to meet next week. The documentary producer too. I can't believe this is happening. Glad to hear it. Remember your promise. I will. I swear I will. Also, the interview sold. TMZ bought it for $15,000. That covers Miguel's expenses for the semester. $15,000. A life-changing amount for Danny. A rounding error in Hollywood accounting. The gap between those two realities was the problem. Not Danny's trespassing. The trespassing was just the inevitable result of that gap. Good. Use it well. I will. Thank you. For everything. For seeing me as a person. Keanu didn't respond to that. What could he say? Of course he saw him as a person. That was the baseline. The fact that it felt exceptional said more about the world than about Keanu. He went to bed early. Tomorrow he was back on set. More stunt work. More 14-hour days. The rhythm of his life continuing. But with this small detour. This strange encounter that would probably be forgotten by most people in a week. Except it wouldn't be forgotten by Danny or Miguel. For them, it was the moment everything changed. The moment someone with power chose to help instead of punish. That moment would ripple forward through their lives, would shape their choices, would determine who they became. That's what people with power never seem to understand. Their choices affected others in ways they couldn't always see. A kind word could change a life. So could a cruel one. The choice was always there, always available. Most people just didn't think about it, operated on autopilot, responded to violations with punishment because that's what everyone did. But autopilot responses perpetuated cycles. Punishment without understanding created resentment without growth. Keanu had learned that young, had been on the receiving end of both kindness and cruelty at crucial moments. Remembered how each felt, how each shaped him. He chose kindness when he could, not because it made him a saint, but because he'd seen it work, seen how it opened doors punishment closed, how it created possibilities instead of eliminating them. Danny Reyes had come to his garden as a trespasser, left as something else, someone with a chance. A second chance, really. The first chance, the one where the system worked and journalism jobs paid enough and college was affordable, that chance had failed him. So Keanu had offered another. Whether Danny took it was up to Danny. Keanu had opened the door. Walking through it was someone else's choice. He fell asleep thinking about doors, about the ones that had been opened for him, about the ones he tried to open for others, about the architecture of opportunity and how fragile it was, how easily systems broke down, how often people fell through cracks not because they deserved to, but because the cracks were there and no one had bothered to fill them. The next morning, Keanu was on set by 6 a.m. The director, Patricia Wong, greeted him with a smile and a coffee. I heard about your adventure. Paparazzo in the bushes. That's had to be unsettling. It was interesting more than unsettling. Only you would find it interesting. Most people would be furious. Fury doesn't solve much. They ran through the day's scenes. Complex choreography. Keanu working with the stunt coordinator to refine movements. His body knew these rhythms. Punch, dodge, roll, rise. Over and over until it was perfect, until the camera captured exactly what the story needed. Lunch break came around 1. Keanu was eating in his trailer when his phone rang. Number he didn't recognize. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Hello, Mr. Reeves? This is Maria Reyes, Danny's mother. Keanu sat up straighter. Hello, Maria. How are you? I'm good. I'm calling because Danny told me what happened. What you did for him. For our family. Her voice was thick with emotion. I needed to thank you. My boys, they're everything to me. Danny, he's been struggling, trying so hard to help Miguel. I didn't know he was doing paparazzi work. He never told me. When he told me last night, when he told me what you did instead of calling the police, I cried. You raised a good son, Maria. 2 good sons. Danny made a mistake, but his heart was in the right place. You could have ruined his life. 1 phone call, and he'd have a criminal record. Instead, you helped him. Why? Because punishment without understanding doesn't help anyone. Danny wasn't trying to hurt anyone. He was trying to help his brother. That's love. Misguided maybe, but love. That deserves compassion, not destruction. You are a blessing. I'm praying for you. Thank you, Maria. That means a lot. After they hung up, Keanu sat quietly. Maria's voice had carried such gratitude, such relief. He'd given her son a chance, and she understood what that meant. How rare it was. How easily it could have gone differently. The afternoon passed in more stunt work. More takes. More precision. By the time they wrapped at 7 p.m., Keanu was sore and satisfied. Good day's work. He rode his motorcycle home through Los Angeles traffic, the vibration of the engine clearing his mind the way it always did. At home, he checked his phone. The interview had dropped. TMZ had posted it in full. 90 minutes of conversation. Unedited. Raw. Real. He watched it. Strange seeing himself on Danny's camera. The kitchen looking normal, not glamorous. Just a regular kitchen in a regular house. Him looking tired, wearing a plain t-shirt, hair a little messy. Not the polished version that appeared at premieres. Just himself. The conversation was good, though. Substantive. He'd forgotten some of what they'd talked about. Hearing it back, he was struck by how honest it had been. How much he'd shared. About grief, about loss, about loneliness that came with fame, about the pressure to always be on, about the guilt of privilege when so many struggled. And Danny had been a good interviewer. Asked real questions. Followed up. Dug deeper. The journalism training showed. This kid had talent. Just needed the right opportunity. The response online was overwhelming. The video had been viewed over 1 million times in 6 hours. Trending everywhere. Clips being shared across every platform. Certain quotes going viral. One stood out. Someone had isolated a moment where Keanu talked about kindness. People ask me why I'm kind. Like it's a strategy. Like it requires explanation. But the real question is, why isn't everyone kind? We're here so briefly. Why would we choose to make that brief time harder for others? Why would we add cruelty to a world that already has so much? Kindness isn't exceptional, or it shouldn't be. It should be the baseline, the default, the thing we all do because we're human and humans are supposed to take care of each other. That clip had 5 million views. Comments full of people crying, saying it changed their perspective, promising to be kinder. The ripple effect in real time. Keanu closed his laptop, went to the kitchen, made tea, sat in the quiet of his house, and thought about attention. How strange it was. How this interview, this accidental situation, had reached more people than most of his carefully planned press appearances. Because it was real, unscripted, honest. People were hungry for that. For realness. For evidence that kindness existed. That people with power sometimes used it well. The fact that a simple act of compassion became international news was sad in a way. It should be normal, unremarkable, but it wasn't normal. So it became news. And maybe that news would inspire someone else to choose compassion. And then someone else. Small ripples becoming waves. That's how change happened. Not through grand gestures, but through accumulated small choices. His phone buzzed. Text from Danny. Have you seen a response? It's everywhere. People are saying you changed their lives. I didn't do anything special. That's what makes it special. Keanu smiled. Set down his phone. Finished his tea. Tomorrow was another day. Another set. Another chance to do the work he loved. But tonight, in this moment, he felt good. Felt like he'd stumbled into something meaningful. Not through planning. Just through responding to an unexpected situation with an open heart instead of a closed fist. That was the secret, really. The thing he'd learned over decades of life. Stay open, even when it would be easier to close. Even when you had every right to be angry. Choose understanding instead. Not always. Some situations required boundaries, required protection, required strength. But more often than people thought, they required softness, required seeing the human behind the action, required asking why instead of just responding to what. Danny had trespassed. That was the what. But the why, understanding the why, that's where compassion lived. In the space between the action and the motivation. In the gap where judgment could become mercy. Keanu carried his cup to the sink, rinsed it, put in the dishwasher. Mundane actions. Regular life. The kind of life he'd chosen despite the fame, despite the money, despite all the ways he could live differently. This was enough. This was good. Helping when he could. Being decent when possible. Living with integrity. That was the goal. Not perfection. Just consistent effort toward being someone he could respect in the mirror. He went upstairs. Showered. The hot water felt good on tired muscles. Tomorrow would bring more physical work. More demands. But also more opportunities. More chances to choose kindness. More moments where his response could make a difference. He'd keep choosing the same way. Keep opening doors. Keep offering chances. Because someone had done that for him once. Multiple times. At crucial moments. Teachers who'd believed in him. Directors who'd taken chances. Friends who'd supported him through grief. None of us made alone. We were all the product of people who'd helped us. People who'd chosen to see potential instead of just flaws. Who'd offered hands up instead of pushing down. Danny Reyes was just the latest in a long line of people Keanu had tried to help. And Danny would help others. And those others would help more. The chain continuing. The ripple spreading. One small choice multiplying into something larger. That was legacy. Not the films. Not the fame. But the accumulated weight of small kindnesses. The doors opened. The chances given. The belief extended. Those things lasted. Those things mattered. Keanu fell asleep easily. Tired body. Quiet mind. Satisfied soul. Knowing he'd done something right. Something good. Something that would ripple forward in ways he'd never fully see. But knowing was enough. Seeing the full impact wasn't necessary. Just making the choice. Just being the person who helped. That was the point. That was everything. 3 days after the interview dropped, Keanu was having breakfast at a small diner in Silver Lake when a young woman approached his table. She was maybe 30, nervous, holding her phone. "Mr. Reeves, I'm so sorry to bother you. I know you're eating, but I watched your interview, the one with Danny Reyes, and I just wanted to say thank you." Keanu gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Please sit. You're not bothering me." She sat, surprised by the invitation. "I'm a journalist too, or I was trying to be. I've been working at a coffee shop for 2 years because I couldn't find a real job. I was about to give up. But watching you talk about choices, about how systems fail people, about how desperation isn't the same as being bad, it made me think maybe I should try again." "You should absolutely try again. What kind of journalism do you want to do?" "Environmental reporting, climate change, conservation, stories that matter." "Have you sent clips to anyone recently?" "Not in 6 months. I got so many rejections I just stopped." Keanu pulled out his phone. "What's your email?" She gave it to him. He typed something. A minute later, her phone buzzed. "I just sent you a contact. Editor at National Geographic. Friend of mine. Send her your best work. Tell her I recommended you. Can't guarantee anything, but she'll look at it seriously." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "You don't even know me. I know you're a journalist who wants to tell important stories. That's enough. The rest is up to you." After she left, thanking him profusely, the waitress came by to refill his coffee. "That was kind of you. She deserved a chance. Most people wouldn't do that. Give out their contacts to strangers. Most people haven't been as lucky as I have. Luck should be shared." The waitress smiled, wrote something on his check. When he looked at it, she'd written no charge. "Your money's no good here today." He left $60 anyway, for a $20 meal. The waitress would find it after he was gone. These small interactions had been happening constantly since the interview went viral. People approaching him with their own stories, their own struggles, looking for hope, for proof that kindness existed, that people helped each other. It was exhausting in some ways, but also affirming. People weren't cynical. Not really. They were hungry for evidence that the world wasn't only cruelty and competition, that sometimes people chose to help, just because they could. Back at home, Keanu found an email from Danny. Subject line, update. "Keanu, I had the meeting with the LA Times editor. She looked at my clips. Offer me freelance work. 2 articles a month to start. Real journalism. Real stories. I'm also meeting with the documentary producer next week. Things are happening. Because of you. I don't know how to express what this means. My mom cries every time someone mentions your name. Miguel is doing great in school. His midterm grades were all A's. Thank you for seeing us. For believing we were worth helping. Danny." Keanu replied simply. "Proud of you. Keep going." He spent the afternoon working on his motorcycle. Meditative work. Hands busy, mind quiet. Around 4 p.m. his phone rang. Amanda, his publicist. So the interview numbers are insane. 20 million views across all platforms. It's one of the most watched celebrity interviews of the year. And it was shot on a consumer camera in your kitchen at midnight. What can I say? Low production values work. Amanda laughed. Networks are calling. They want you to do the talk show circuit. Ellen, Jimmy Fallon, everyone. Talk about the Danny situation. About kindness. About second chances. No thanks. I figured. But I had to ask. There's also something else. A foundation reached out. Second Chances America. They work with people trying to rebuild after incarceration, addiction, homelessness. They want to know if you'd be willing to be a spokesperson. No money, just lending your name and maybe doing some events. Send me information about them. If they're legitimate, I'm interested. Will do. Also, Danny Reyes is getting interview requests too. Everyone wants to talk to the paparazzo who got caught and reformed. He's been declining everything. Good. He's focused on the right things. Unlike most people in his situation, most would milk this for everything. He's keeping his head down, doing the work. Kid has integrity. After hanging up, Keanu thought about integrity. How rare it was. How easy it was to compromise when opportunity presented itself. Danny could be cashing in, doing the talk show circuit, writing a book deal. Celebrity paparazzo tells all. It would sell. But he wasn't. He was keeping his promise. Getting out of that world. Building something real instead. That evening, Keanu had dinner with David Chun, his lawyer friend. A quiet restaurant in Los Feliz, away from the tourist areas. You've created a whole thing, David said over appetizers. The Danny Reyes interview. It's everywhere. People are using it as a teaching tool. I heard a high school teacher in Ohio is showing it to her students. Talking about empathy and second chances. That's nice. Weird, but nice. It's resonating because it's real. People are tired of performative kindness. Influencers doing good deeds for clicks. This was just you being you. No cameras, no plan, just responding to a situation with humanity. I didn't really have a choice. He was in my bushes. I had to respond somehow. Most people would have chosen differently. That's the point. You had the power to punish. You chose to help instead. That's revolutionary in its own quiet way. They talked about other things. David's family, upcoming projects, normal friendship things. But the conversation kept coming back to Danny. Have you talked to him since the interview? Couple of texts. He's doing well, starting to get journalism work. And you're not worried he'll go back to paparazzi work when things get hard? No, I saw his face when he talked about his brother. That's real love. People don't betray real love lightly. You have more faith in humanity than I do. Maybe. Or maybe I've just been lucky enough to see the good more than the bad. Walking to his motorcycle after dinner, Keanu passed a homeless man sitting against a building. Sign asking for help. Keanu stopped, pulled out his wallet, gave him $200. God bless you, the man said. You too. There's a shelter 2 blocks that way. They'll have beds tonight. It's supposed to get cold. I know it. Been there before. Thank you, brother. Keanu rode home through city streets. Los Angeles at night. Millions of people. Millions of stories. Each one struggling in their own way. Each one trying to survive. To thrive. To matter. He couldn't help everyone. Couldn't solve systemic problems with individual kindness. But he could help some. Could make individual choices that accumulated into something. Small lights in darkness. Not enough to illuminate everything, but enough to see by. At home, he found another email. This one from Miguel Reyes. Danny's brother. Mr. Reeves, I'm Miguel. Danny's brother. I wanted to write to thank you for what you did for him. For us. When Danny told me he'd been doing paparazzi work, I felt terrible. Like his struggle was my fault. My education was costing him his integrity. But you showed him another way. Showed us both that people can change direction. That mistakes don't have to be permanent. I'm working hard to make the most of this opportunity. To honor what you've given us. Not just the interview money, but the belief that we're worth investing in. That matters more than you know. Thank you. Miguel Reyes. Keanu read it twice. Felt something warm in his chest. This kid, 18 years old, full of potential, now able to focus on his studies instead of worrying about his brother compromising himself to pay the bills. He replied, Miguel, your brother's love for you is what drove all this. That love, that family bond, it's worth protecting. Keep working hard. Make the most of your education. And someday, when you're in a position to help someone else, do it. That's how we change things. One person helping another. Keanu. That night, Keanu couldn't sleep. Not from stress. From energy. From feeling connected to something larger than himself. His phone glowed with notifications. People sharing the interview. People telling their own stories. People promising to be kinder. One comment thread caught his attention. Someone had written, I was about to fire my employee for stealing. After watching this, I decided to ask why first. Turns out his kid needed medicine he couldn't afford. I'm helping him instead of firing him. Keanu Reeves taught me something. And another, I'm a teacher. Had a student plagiarize an essay. Was going to fail her. Decided to talk to her instead. She's dealing with homelessness. Staying in her car. Can't focus. I'm connecting her with resources instead of punishment. Thank you for showing there's another way. Story after story. People changing their responses. Choosing understanding over judgment. Small moments multiplying. This was the ripple. Not just Danny's life changing, but Danny's story inspiring others to choose differently. To ask why. To see the human. To remember that cruelty was a choice and kindness was too. Keanu finally fell asleep around 2 a.m. dreamed of doors opening, of paths appearing where none had existed, of people helping people in an endless chain, each link making the next possible. He woke to his phone ringing. 6 a.m., unknown number. Probably should have ignored it. But he answered. Mr. Reeves? This is Roberto Reyes, Danny and Miguel's father. Roberto, good morning. I'm calling from work. Construction site. Had to call. Had to tell you what you did for my boys. For my family. His voice was rough. Strong. The voice of a man who'd worked with his hands his whole life. I came here from Guadalajara 25 years ago. Nothing in my pockets. Dreams in my head. I wanted my sons to have better education, better opportunities, better life. You did that. You raised good sons. I tried. But the system, it's hard. Everything costs too much. Danny, he was struggling. I didn't know how much. He never told me. Trying to protect me. Trying to be the man. And Miguel, so smart. Too smart to miss college. But we couldn't help enough. You helped more than you know. They're good people because of you and Maria. Maybe. But they're getting their chance because of you. You saw my Danny. Could have destroyed him. You built him up instead. That's grace, Mr. Reeves. That's what we call grace. Keanu's throat tightened. Your family deserves good things. I'm glad I could help. You did more than help. You showed us kindness matters. That people matter. My boys won't forget. I won't forget. You need anything, ever, you call me. I will come. That's a promise. After hanging up, Keanu sat in bed for a long moment. Roberto's words settling over him. Grace. He'd offered grace to Danny without thinking of it in those terms. But that's what it was. Un favor. Help given not because someone deserved it, but because they needed it. He thought about the times he'd received grace. The director who'd cast him in his first real role when he was a nobody from Toronto. The friend who'd loaned him money when he was broke. The stranger who'd picked him up hitchhiking when he was stranded. Small moments of grace that had changed trajectories. Now he was on the other side, in a position to offer grace to others. The responsibility of that settled on him. Not burden, responsibility. There was a difference. Over the next few weeks, life continued. Filming, interviews, the normal rhythm. But something had shifted. People approached him differently, not just as a celebrity, but as a symbol. Proof that kindness existed. It was strange, uncomfortable sometimes. He wasn't trying to be a symbol, just trying to be decent. But if people needed him to represent something larger, he'd accept it, use it, leverage it for good when possible. A month after the interview, Keanu received a package. No return address. Inside was a handwritten letter and a photo. The letter was from a woman named Sarah Chun. Mr. Reeves, you don't know me, but I was a paparazzo too. Have been for 5 years. Hated myself for it. Hated invading privacy. Hated contributing to a toxic culture. But it paid my student loans. Fed my daughter. Seemed like the only option. Then I saw your interview with Danny Reyes. Watched you choose compassion over punishment. And I realized I had choices too. I quit. Last week. I am scared. Don't know what comes next. But I'm free. Free of the guilt. Free of the shame. The photo is me deleting all my paparazzi photos. Thousands of them. All gone. I'm starting over. Thank you for showing me it's possible. Sarah. The photo showed a woman, Asian, maybe 35, smiling at the camera while holding a hard drive. Behind her, a computer screen showing a trash bin emptying. Keanu stared at it for a long time. This was the ripple. Not just Danny, but people he'd never met. People inspired by the story to change their own lives. To make different choices. He wrote back, Sarah, I'm proud of you. Making hard choices takes courage. You have that courage. If you need connections for legitimate journalism work, let me know. I'm happy to help. And thank you for telling me. This is what change looks like. Keanu. He tucked the letter and photo into a drawer in his desk. Evidence. Proof that individual choices mattered. That one moment of compassion could multiply into something larger. That Sunday, he had dinner with Kim and Sam. His sister made her promise pasta. They ate on her back patio, comfortable family time. Sam, his nephew, brought up the interview. Uncle Keanu, everyone at school is talking about it. About you and that paparazzo. It's kind of cool. But also, kids are asking me questions. Like, how to know when to be nice and when to be tough. What do you tell them? I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. Keanu thought about it. I think you start with kindness. That's the default. But if someone continues to hurt you or others even after kindness, then you need boundaries. Strength. Protection. Kindness doesn't mean being a doormat. It means giving people a chance. Sometimes multiple chances, but not infinite chances. So Danny got a chance because it was his first time. Danny got a chance because I could see he wasn't trying to hurt anyone. He was desperate, trying to help his brother. That's different from someone who's cruel for cruelty's sake. Context matters. Sam nodded, processing. I think I get it. Like, judge the person, not just the action. Exactly. See the whole human, not just the moment. Kim watched them talk, a smile on her face. Later, when Sam was inside, she spoke quietly. You're good with him. He looks up to you so much. He's a good kid. You raised him well. We raised him. You've been there. Especially after Tom left. Sam needed a male figure. You stepped up. Family takes care of family. That's just what you do. Not everyone does. You're special, Keanu. I hope you know that. He shifted uncomfortably. I'm just trying to be decent. I know. That's what makes it special. Driving home that night, Keanu thought about family. About the Reyes family. About his own. About chosen family and blood family, and how both mattered. How taking care of each other, showing up, being present, that was the foundation of everything. Danny had been trying to take care of family. Miguel was honoring family sacrifice. Roberto and Maria had built a family through hard work and love. And now they were all connected, woven together through that strange night when Danny had been hiding in the bushes. Un moment créatif permanent bon. That was life. You never knew which encounters would matter, which choices would echo forward. So you treated every moment as potentially important, every person as potentially significant. You stayed open, stayed present, stayed willing to help. 2 months after the interview, Keanu got a call from the LA Times editor he'd connected Danny with. Keanu, it's Susan Martinez. I wanted to update you on Danny Reyes. How's he doing? Brilliantly. The kid can write. Really write. I've published 3 of his pieces. All excellent. Long-form features about immigration, housing insecurity, workers' rights. Real journalism. I'm bringing him on staff. Full-time position. Starts next month. That's fantastic. It is. And I wanted to thank you for the referral. We need journalists like him. People who understand struggle. Who haven't forgotten what it's like to be desperate. His perspective is valuable. He'll do great work for you. I know he will. But Keanu, there's something else. Danny told me the full story. What happened? How you found him? Helped him? I want to write about it. More depth than the viral interview. The longer-term impact. Would you be willing to talk to me? Will it help Danny? It'll show what's possible when people choose compassion over punishment. It'll show transformation is real. So yes, I think it helps everyone. Then I'm willing. When do you want to talk? They set up an interview for the following week. Keanu spent the days between thinking about what he wanted to say, how to articulate what had happened without making himself the hero. Danny was the hero. Danny had changed his life. Keanu had just opened a door. The interview with Susan happened at a coffee shop in Los Feliz. She was professional, thorough, asked good questions, wanted details, wanted to understand the thinking behind his choices. When you found Danny in your bushes, what was your first thought? Honestly, curiosity. I want to know why. Not what he was doing, that was obvious. But why? What circumstances led to this moment? Once I understood the why, the what made sense. Most people wouldn't care about the why. They'd just respond to the violation. Most people haven't been desperate. Or they have, but they've forgotten. Desperation makes people do things they normally wouldn't. Understanding that, remembering that, it changes how you respond. You've been remarkably fortunate in your career. Do you think that shaped your response to people who are struggling? Absolutely. I've been lucky. Right place, right time, right opportunities. None of it was guaranteed. I could easily have ended up differently. That awareness, that luck could have gone another way. It makes you more empathetic, more willing to help. What do you want people to take from Danny's story? That people are more than their worst moments. That circumstances matter. That helping someone change direction is better than punishing them for going the wrong direction. And that systems are often the problem. Danny wouldn't have been in my bushes if education was affordable and journalism jobs paid living wages. Fix the systems and you fix a lot of individual problems. The article came out 3 weeks later. Sunday edition. Front page of the feature section. The paparazzo and the movie star. How one act of compassion changed 2 lives. It was beautifully written. Susan had interviewed Danny, Miguel, their parents. Had gotten perspectives from everyone. The article traced the ripple effect. How Danny's transformation had inspired Sarah-chan to quit paparazzi work. How teachers were using the story in classrooms. How employers were rethinking their responses to employee mistakes. The last paragraph stuck with Keanu. In a world increasingly divided, increasingly harsh, Keanu Reeves and Danny Reyes offer a different model. Not naive, not ignoring consequences, but leading with curiosity instead of judgment, with help instead of punishment, with belief in human capacity for change. If more people with power made similar choices, the world would be measurably different, measurably better. The question isn't whether we can afford such compassion. It's whether we can afford not to practice it. Keanu read it 3 times. Susan had captured something essential, something he believed deeply but struggled to articulate. That compassion wasn't weakness, was actually strength, required strength, was harder than punishment, but produced better outcomes. His phone rang. Danny, do you see the article? I did. It's good. Susan did great work. Keanu, I don't know how to... Everything that's happened. Because of you. I have a job. A real job. Miguel is thriving. My parents are proud. I am proud. Of myself. For the first time in years. You should be proud. You did the work. You changed direction when you had the chance. That takes courage. You gave me the chance. And you took it. Not everyone does. Some people get opportunities and waste them. You didn't. That's you, Danny. Not me. Can I tell you something? I'm working on a story about the economics of college. How it forces families into impossible situations. How student debt shapes life decisions. It's personal, based on what we went through. What Miguel is experiencing. My editor loves. That's exactly the kind of journalism we need. Stories from the inside. From people who've lived it. That's what I'm trying to do now. Turn what I went through into something useful. Make meaning from struggle. After they hung up, Keanu sat with that thought. Making meaning from struggle. That's what he tried to do with grief. With loss. With the hard parts of life that everyone experienced. You could let it destroy you. Or you could transform it into something useful. Into art. Into help for others. Into wisdom. Danny was doing that. Taking his desperate moment and transforming it. Not hiding from it. Not pretending it didn't happen. But integrating it. Learning from it. Using it. That was growth. Real growth. The kind that only came from facing yourself honestly. From admitting mistakes. From accepting help. From doing better. Keanu's phone buzzed with a text. Miguel. Mr. Reeves, I'm presenting my research at a conference next month. Solar panel efficiency project. Would you want to come? I know you're busy. No pressure. Just thought I'd ask. I'd love to. Send me details. 3 weeks later, Keanu sat in a university lecture hall, watching Miguel Reyes present research to a room full of engineers and academics. The kid was good, confident, clear, passionate about his work, explaining complex concepts in accessible language. During Q&A, a professor asked about funding. Miguel was honest. I'm fortunate to have a full scholarship for tuition, but the additional costs of college, of research materials, of living expenses, those were challenging. My family helped, and I received support from others who believed in education access. That support made this research possible. He didn't name Keanu, didn't draw attention, just acknowledged the reality that science required resources. That talent alone wasn't enough without support. After the presentation, Keanu approached. Miguel's face lit up. You came. I didn't think you actually would. I said I would. Your research is impressive, Miguel. Really impressive. Thank you. It's preliminary but promising. If I can improve efficiency by even 2%, that's significant for large-scale solar installation. They talked for 20 minutes about the research, about school, about Miguel's plans after graduation, graduate school, then maybe industry, maybe start his own company focused on renewable energy. You're going to do important work. I can see it. I hope so. I want to contribute something meaningful, something that helps. You already are, just by showing what's possible when talent meets opportunity. Danny joined them, the brothers together. Keanu saw the resemblance. Same eyes, same smile, but also the differences. Danny carried weight, experience, struggle. Miguel was lighter, unburdened by the desperation that had driven his brother. That's what Danny had fought for. Miguel's lightness, his freedom to focus on potential rather than survival. That was love. That was sacrifice. The three of them went to dinner, a casual place near campus. Talked about everything: politics, climate change, journalism, film, family, normal conversation, the kind you had with friends. That's what they become. Friends. The strange beginning, the night in the bushes, it had led here. To connection, to relationship, to mutual respect. Driving home that night, Keanu felt grateful for the random encounter that had become this, for the choice he'd made to help instead of punish, for getting to witness Danny's transformation and Miguel's success. This was legacy, not films that would be forgotten eventually, but lives touched, doors opened, chances given. Danny and Miguel would go forward and help others, and those others would help more. The chain continuing infinitely. One moment, one choice, one question. How long have you been sitting out here? Instead of what the hell are you doing on my property? That small difference had changed everything. Life was like that. Small pivot points determining trajectories. You couldn't know in the moment which choices mattered, so you treated all choices as potentially significant, made them with intention, with care, with compassion when possible. That was the work, the daily practice of trying to be better, to see more clearly, to respond more kindly. Not perfection, just progress, just effort, just remembering that everyone you met was fighting battles you knew nothing about, and responding accordingly. Keanu pulled into his garage, looked at the garden through the windows. The bushes where Danny had hidden 2 months ago. They looked ordinary now, just bushes, just plants, no different from any other night. But they'd been the site of transformation, of a moment that rippled forward, that changed lives, that proved compassion worked, that kindness multiplied, that second chances mattered. He walked inside, made tea, sat in his quiet house, grateful for randomness, for the unexpected encounters that shaped everything, for the chance to help, for the reminder that people were worth believing in. His phone buzzed one more time. Text from Danny. Thank you. For tonight. For everything. For believing we were worth it. Keanu replied simply. You were always worth it. You just needed someone to see it. Glad I could be that someone. And that was true. Completely true. Danny and Miguel had always been worth it. Had always deserved chances. Had always had potential. Keanu hadn't created that. Had just recognized it. Had just removed obstacles. Had just opened a door. The rest, all the rest, was them. Their work. Their choice. Their transformation. He was just glad he'd been paying attention. Glad he'd been curious instead of angry. Glad he'd asked why instead of calling the police. Such a small thing. Such a simple choice. Such profound results. That was the lesson. The thing he hoped people understood. Small choices mattered. Individual moments accumulated into lives. Into legacies. Into worlds. Choose kindness when possible. Choose curiosity over judgment. Choose help over punishment. Not always. Not blindly. But as often as you could. As often as circumstances allowed. That was enough. That was everything. That was the work. Keanu finished his tea, went upstairs, fell asleep thinking about doors opening, about paths appearing, about the beautiful randomness of life, about grace given and received, about the endless possibility of human connection, and about a young man hiding in bushes who'd stumbled into transformation, who'd become something more than he'd been, who'd found a better path, all because someone had chosen to see him, to help him, to believe in him. That was the power we all had, the power to see, to help, to believe, if we chose to use it. Keanu chose to use it. would keep choosing. Every day, every moment, every encounter. That was the life he wanted. The person he wanted to be. Not perfect, not a saint, just someone who helped when he could, who saw people clearly, who remembered that grace, offered freely, changed everything. Changed everything.